Good morning. I hope you're having a good Christmas. I hope you had a good Christmas, Christmas Day, as we are in the season of Christmas. Today and for the next week or so, we'll be during the Christmas time, we are looking at another element. We've looked at the last few weeks, we looked at how we started with hope, and then we moved to peace, and then joy, and then love. Well, during Christmastide, one of the things that we look at is light, that God is light, that he came to earth as light. There's a passage from John chapter 1 I want to read to you. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Or in the older versions, it says, understood it. To me, light is one of those things that is a big impact on our world. I know that we have just come out of December 21st, which December 21st is, the equinox. What is it? The winter equinox, winter solstice. And I know every year when we come up to it in my house and my family, this is a time where it's like, the sun will be up the shortest amount of time during the day on December 21st, 22nd, right wherever the winter solstice is. And it's a big deal because, the sun, it gives us life. We came here to North Carolina from Wisconsin. Wisconsin up north, it gets dark at like 4:30 or something in the afternoon. It was crazy. You can go to work in the morning and it's dark, and you come home from work and it was dark. It's like you didn't even see the sun. And that is really hard. It's really... Well, it just doesn't make you feel good, right? So we always look forward to the winter solstice, because when the winter solstice comes, the days will get longer. The days will continuously grow after this, all the way up into June. And so, tomorrow will be longer than today. The sun will be out longer than today, which there's hope in that. There's excitement in that. And that's one of those things. Fall and summer is when the sun days are getting less, and winter and spring is when the days are getting longer for us here. So there's excitement in that. And so with all that, we connect it naturally with light. We connect it with God as light, because light is what we need. We need light for life. We need light for farming, and we need light to see. I know in my own life, I've experienced many adventures that light has played a role into. I can think of one of them. We lived in California, and so when we moved to California, we moved from Florida to California. And so we were going across the southern part of the country, and we ended up going all the way up to I-40, which goes across from, I guess, Oklahoma City and Amarillo and Albuquerque and all that stuff. So we did that, and we made it all the way to California. It was a crazy trip. But what we did, because we were driving all our stuff, is we drove during the day, only when the light was out. And so, I had experienced driving at night a lot, growing up and stuff, and well, that's no big deal, right? But I hadn't drove through the West when it was dark. Well, we had been there for about a year at this point, and my brother lived in Kansas City, my little brother, and I wanted to see him. I had vacation that I needed to use, and I wanted to go see him. So I took a week off, and I was like, we'll go see my brother in Kansas City. Well, I didn't think too much of it. I was just getting ready for the day or whatever, and I knew I was leaving that day to go to Kansas City. I was like, I don't have a schedule. I just got to get there in the next couple of days, and so whatever, however I go. And so I was working around the house, getting things ready and stuff. And I didn't leave California, Fresno, California, until 3 p.m. Now, 3 p.m., if I'm driving somewhere around here, I mean, if I drive to my in-laws or drive even to my parents, I know the roads, I know the environment, I know everything. So even if it's dark, it's not that big a deal. Well, I made it to, I think, Barstow, which is a few hours down the road, about 3 hours down the road. And I got there for dinner, and the sun was starting to set, and I was like, okay, I'm getting ready to go in an area. I don't remember driving. I only drove in a big U-Haul type truck, and so I take off and I'm going. But so I get to Arizona, and Arizona is one of those fun places where there's a lot of images of Arizona as nothing or a desert, and it's not. I mean, there's high forest, there's all kinds of crazy things there. And I, it's night, I'm driving, and it's dark. I'm getting tired too, which don't drive when you're tired. This was a bad idea. Because I was just going to drive until I wanted to stop. And I'm just out of Flagstaff. And on the side of the road in the shoulder, I come up on something. I didn't even see it till it was like right on top of me. And it was an elk that if he would have been any closer to the road, I would have hit him. His legs were taller than my hood of my car, and I couldn't see him. I couldn't see him, and so this was it. I was like, oh, I didn't see this coming, so I was exhausted, and so I pull off at the next rest area and stop. And I got a picture I'm going to show you here. This is the rest stop. And I stopped at this rest stop, which was no big deal. I had stopped at the rest stop across the highway when we came out, because we had a flat tire in this area when we came out in the rental truck, and we eventually made it to this rest stop and we stopped. And but I didn't realize that at the time, so I stopped. It's you can see here it's all deserty, and there's not much there other than this place out in the distance. I didn't know that. I stopped because I was done, and so I stopped and I parked my car, and I popped up my air mattress, put it in the back of my little RAV4, and I slept all night. Slept until I couldn't sleep anymore, which was about 5:30 in the morning. And so I get up and I take off, and I keep going down the road, going to Kansas. And I go on some crazy adventures on that trip. But here's the thing. I didn't know what this rest area was called. I haven't known what this rest area was called. And I stopped at the other side with a flat tire. My wife needed to use the restroom and all that stuff after a flat tire. And I stop at this side because I get scared of this elk in the middle of the night. Both times I get stopped, and I'm getting stopped and my mind is elsewhere. Even the first time when there was light, the second time there was no light. I didn't know what the place was called. And this rest area is literally called Meteor Rest Area type thing. And this picture here, this is just less than, 5 miles south of this rest area. I had no clue. I didn't have any clue after this event happened. I had no clue because I was blind to it. The darkness hid the signs, hid any information of this. I had no clue that this is where I stopped. I also had no clue that if I would have kept going, I would have never saw any more elk that night, because it was desert was all that's in front of me. I had no clue. I couldn't see because there was no light, and I missed things. And this happens. This has happened to me a lot, where I was like, oh, I've been there. This week I had a conversation with one person that we had a tornado watch here. And I remember, it's like, oh, I've driven under tornadoes, supposedly, but it was dark. I couldn't see them. It was above my head, supposedly. The radio report says there was a tornado spotted on this road at this block, Mark, and I didn't see it because it was dark and it was at night. And so I was driving at risk, not even realizing it. Another trip I went on is sort of similar like this, but this one I sort of got it, but I didn't get it till the next day. I was driving in Oregon, again, doing my crazy adventures. And I was driving to go to Washington to go to Seattle to see a baseball game. And I was taking the non-direct route because I wanted to see Crater Lake. I wanted to see Mount Hood and other things. And so I was going on this other route through Oregon. And on this road, I literally got tired. I had gone through Bend, Oregon and other cities and stuff, and I was tired. And there was a rest area. It's like, I'll just stop at this rest area. So I parked my car, my little RAV4 again, pop up my air mattress like I had because it could lay down in the back of my car and take a nap. And so I go to sleep. And I wake up in the morning. And I'm in a rest area, and I don't know what's there. I have no clue. And so I get up, and I change and everything because I got all my windows and everything over my car. I'm all like a professional at this point of sleeping in my car. And so I get all ready for the day, and I go outside to use the restroom at the rest area and all this stuff. And I look in front of my car, and about 200-300 feet in front of my car, I see this little brick wall. And the little brick wall, it says, there's signs there that says, do not let your pets on the wall or next to the wall. And I'm like, don't let your pets jump the wall and stuff. I'm like, what? Okay, I don't have any dogs with me here. Why am I? But it seemed weird. Like, why are they concerned about this wall and pets? Just didn't make sense to me. So I walk up to it, and this is what I saw. This is Crooked River Canyon. And I didn't even know. I was sleeping right next to this beautiful place. But I couldn't see it. No light. No light. I did see it the next morning. I walked down on a bridge, one of the bridges right there, and I saw all this stuff and looked at the beautiful place. But it wasn't until the light of the next day that I could see it. The reality is our lives are filled with so many things that are ups and downs and wrongs and rights and stuff like that. But without the light of the day, we cannot make it. Well, it's the same with our walk with Christ. It's the same with all the disasters and things. A lot of times we deal with things that we can't overcome. We deal with things we don't even know are right in front of us. Blessings and things that are God at work, we have no clue that they're there unless we are in the light. I've seen God work this year. I've heard a lot of stories where God hasn't felt like he's been at work. But I've seen him work. I've seen him work in people's lives. I've seen people be able to deal with loss. I've seen God restore families, heal people that have been suffering for years, taking away the pain that has just plagued people. Story after story, and most of them, I don't have permission to share right now. But here's the thing about these stories. They happen when people came into the light. I know when I was first dating Jennifer, or right around the time when I met my wife, I had a problem. And the problem was I loved ministry. I loved ministry. I loved being involved in Bible quizzing and doing stuff, helping kids and all these things. I was so passionate about it that I would do anything for it. I would go to my professors when I started college and says, I have this ministry I'm doing, and so I need you to understand that this has these priorities and stuff like that I'm going to have to make sure that my classes don't overlap with my ministry. I hope you hear that, even as I say that, how crazy that sounds. Because I had created this light in the ministry I was doing that wasn't Jesus. The ministry mattered more. And it was like church matters more than God type thing, which that's not wise. I mean, church exists for him, not he exists for church. It's not that way. And so, I had to realize, and God's light had to say, hey, you're doing this wrong. And for me, what happened was I had to fail. I had to be taken, the light, this false light had to be taken away, and so that I could come into the true light. Because the things of this world, the lights of this world will fade. I have candles that if you were here tomorrow, you'll see the candles in the sanctuary. And one of the things about candles, we light candles at the season to be reflective of Christ's light and all these different things, that he's the light of the world. But those candles, they have a time limit. We haven't made a candle that will just burn forever. Eventually, the fuel will burn out. Eventually, this candle will give out. And that's the same thing with the lights we create in things of this world. Those lights will fade. Those lights will go out. This is what's different about Christ. As he said in the verse, in him was life. He is life. And in his life was the light of all mankind. Jesus came into this world. He is the light. John 8:12 says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. I think that we have a tendency to walk by the wrong lights because they're easy to see. They're easy to see the glamour and the moment in something. And, the reward of something giving us that feeling that we have when things go well right off the bat. But God's light is one that lasts. It's one that it doesn't fade. It might fade if we walk away from it. But it doesn't fade in its power and its majestic beauty, but we become farther from it because we've distanced ourselves. The verse says, whoever follows me will never walk in darkness. We have to follow him to be in the light. As I realize and as I look at this Christmas season and think about everything that we go through, there's moments of darkness in our world, but your story has moments of light too. I'm going to be asking those that gather with us today to share stories about where God's light has shined in their life. I would encourage you that as we close this time here in a moment, that you would spend time today with your loved ones, with yourself, or just thinking about the stories or the times in your life where God's light has shined. Because when we focus on where God's light has shined, it helps us realize where God is and what God is about in our life, in our world. Because God is at work. Sometimes we've lived so far in darkness that we miss the canyon that's right in front of us, the beauty that's right in front of us. We sometimes miss the beauty that's just 5 miles south of us. Or we miss the fact is that we're using something that was designed for his glory and for his light and using it for something else. It is easy to miss it and to miss the light while we look at something else. You don't have to. You can sit there and think and remember. Allow the Spirit to show you the light and lead you into the light. Today I'm going to leave you with a recording of a passage of Scripture. It's one of my favorites. It's Psalms 27. And I want you to hear this and think about who God is in your life as we begin this year. I love you, and I will be praying for you. May God bless you this Christmas season and this new year that is to come.
Psalm 27 of David. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked advance against me to devour me, it is my enemies and my foes who will stumble and fall. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord, and to seek him in his temple. For in the day of trouble he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent, and set me high upon a rock. Then my head will be exalted above the enemies who surround me. At his sacred tent I will sacrifice with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to the Lord. Hear my voice when I call, Lord. Be merciful to me and answer me. My heart says of you, seek his face. Your face, Lord, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Do not reject me or forsake me, God my Savior. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. Teach me your way, Lord. Lead me in a straight path because of my oppressors. Do not turn me over to the desire of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, spouting malicious accusations. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart, and wait for the Lord.